Hello, 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 pre-freshers. Welcome to your first online lesson. I have a feeling a number of you guys will have challenges finding yourself here. But anyway, it's part of the process. So for those that have joined us, kindly help me by typing up your names so that I know who was able to join us. Okay, I can see Gideon in coma, Caleb, Chongo, Jeremiah, Mwemba, anyone else who has graced us with their presence. Anyone else? I can see the numbers are steadily increasing. Kwesaki, okay. Is this a Japanese name? Emmanuel Piri, Raima. Okay, anyone else? Demwani Piri. Are you related to Emmanuel? Yeah. Any others? Quickly type up your names. I see who has managed to join in on the lesson. Quickly. This will be an introductory lesson. At least you get to see how the platform is used. Dali Sosakala Dada. Excuse me. Who else? Crispin Simokoko. Some of these names look like they're names from last academic year. Guys, finish Modech Tap. Just wait for your results in peace. Mwisa mkuchusha waite. Molly Mumba, Molly, hello. Anyone else? Any other names? The weirdos. Thais Yakawe, okay. Gillen in coma. I saw your liking of the page. Who else? 2 more names. And then we can start. 2 more names and then we start. Today is Friday. I have to go and drink beer. In the shade, you what about Akaba? What about I can have dadada? Chibuku with ice cubes and yogurt. Or is that becoming a mayonnaise? Ish. Okay, Kennedy Chama, Jen Farajesh, Andy Kalunga, Priska, Chakubeva. Priska, finish your baby. Alright, so welcome to our live session once again. It is an honor to have you guys. It is exciting that we are beginning this journey together today officially. So welcome. We're going to have a very small discussion. The main essence of all this was for you guys to get used to the online setup so that later on when we have to use it often, you are familiar. Okay, so Priska Mbololwa, welcome. All right, so I promised you we're going to do some physics today, and I'm going to introduce vectors. Now, one thing I like about you guys is you guys had my 6 points. I know some of you are writing maybe math and what, but maybe science maripasako. Can anyone help us with the definition of a vector? Just type up the definition of a vector. Quickly. Type up the definition of a vector. Jack Pesela. It's even showing to say, Oyumuntu, he's been on this page for 1 year. Mwese mkuchita pretend that mwoba fresha. Mawaizi, 3 years. Mwoba kuru, mwoba iche. Monolo yando, hello. I know this one is new. Yeah. So guys, help with the definition of a vector. So there will be 2nd years and 3rd years, even some 4th years. There will be some people trying to shine. Yeah. Okay, so people are saying network is bad. Anyway, as I said, today is the first one. So, yeah, don't worry, there will be such issues. All right, so anything that has direction and magnitude. So a vector is a quantity that has both magnitude and direction. Good. This quantity has both magnitude and direction. So in grade 12, you might have taken the definition at face value, but now we are going to be deeper. Okay. Shanimune. We are going to sell cow. So magnitude basically refers to how much. Okay. And then direction refers to the angle. Okay. So the two things we'll be interested in is how much of a quantity do we have? And if we're talking about vectors, in what direction is it oriented? Okay. So the magnitude is straightforward. The angle is where things get to be a bit tricky. So let's talk about angles. So angles, the units for angles. Angles are read in one of two common units. Angles can be read in radians, or what's the other unit for angles? And I'll give you a hint. It's something that none of you have yet. Yes, I think that hint is hint enough. So what is the other definition? Rather, what is the other unit for angles? Guys, you should just look for someone to marry you, or someone to marry. Yeah. Degrees. Good. Va Melvin, papa iche. Muisa muichitana kane. Yeah. Awe mule kwata kwa insoni na imwe. Anyway, degree. Degrees. All right. Radians in physics are not important. Okay. Our interest will be in using degrees. Now, there's a rule for angles. So the first rule is all angles are read from the positive x-axis in an anti-clockwise direction. Okay, so now the axis that you know is this. Okay, so this is the x-axis, this is the y-axis. Ati Celsius, but kwena Mr. Pelly Rugi, hi, how are you? Namona wambia ati Celsius. Narambo kumiroa. Narambo kumiroa. All right, so now, this is the positive for the x-axis in this direction. So this is the positive x, this is the negative x. Then up, this is the positive y, this is the negative y. Okay, so when we say positive x-axis, all angles are read from here. And then we say the direction has to be anti-clockwise. So anti-clockwise will move from here until we meet whatever vector we are talking about. For instance, a resultant could be here. So this will be our angle, and we use the symbol theta. Can you guys type up the word theta? Can you please type up the word theta? Type up the word theta. I need you guys to type this word up because some people mispronounce these and they say theta. Theta is my complexion. It is not how you pronounce this symbol. So quickly type up theta. Iya now mono muntwai. Elonga to amloa tiyosha. Henry Mpundu raba sheke raba dudu. Guys, nami furuka. I hope some of you have managed to find girlfriends and boyfriends. Okay. When I say girlfriends, like you have to be a guy. When I say boyfriends, like you have to be a girl. Not wema ome wambo kumbo miomf shama omemno. Anyway, let's continue. So theta, that's how you pronounce it. Theta and complexion, yandine na theta. But theta is how you pronounce it. Excellent. So a quick run through. We're doing vectors. We've started by defining a vector. Linus, hi. Chiwila, welcome. So we started by defining a vector. We said a vector is a quantity that has both magnitude and direction. Then we add depth to this. Magnitude, we're referring to how much of that quantity. Okay? And then direction, we're referring to the angle. What direction, at what angle is that vector oriented? So angles, there are two units in math that we commonly use, radians and degrees. Okay, so radians in physics, we never get to use them. We only get to use what you don't yet have, degrees. So there's one rule that we follow when reading angles. All angles are read from the positive x-axis in an anti-clockwise manner. Okay. Then I showed you what the positive x-axis is. So the x-axis will have a negative and the positive part. So this is where you read all angles from. Now in what direction? Anti-clockwise. So you go up. So generally that is how you read angles. Okay. So now I want you guys to help me figure out a certain angle. What is the standard angle for what is shown below? So I'll give you a diagram and I want you to have a few seconds to try and figure it out. So let's assume our vector is here. We'll call that vector R. And we read our angle. Anyway, no. For now, the angle that I'm going to give you is this. This is going to be 30 degrees. So what is the standard angle for this vector? By standard, I mean, if the angle was to be read from the positive x-axis in an anti-clockwise manner, what would it give us? So I'll give you a minute to try and figure that out. Hey, quickly. If you have a relationship, you know, but school is easy. In fact, my whole life, I don't think I've seen an angle that is easier than this. Okay, so mwape says 150. So if you are koperashi, umunabofalandi, muindo shimwe. Kondoani watching from China. Which China? Nishi na imifuira no apa China mo. Okay, wapo walanda 150, wawoka 150, wa Jeremiah 150. Aba nakashinishi samushi tamwa ishwa. Ladies are not participating. Wa Emma 150, Mono, wa Melvin 150. Aba nakashini samushi tabanchi. Oh, taizi. Anomba taizi agente tuishiwe. Ngamo menga mwana kashi. Amashina ya mo. Niwe kwata kolia pakati taizia Rose Shanyoko. So ngerishina nifase nife na reka tu watoka. All right. So if I were to read this from the positive x-axis, would start here until we meet the vector. And as you can see, we are along a straight line, and the straight line should give us 180. So we are short of 180 by 30. So what angle is that? So that's going to be 180 minus 30, which is going to be 150 degrees. Okay. Next, let me explain negative angles. Negative angles. All right. Vincent, Mr. 97. Oh, Taize, okay, to a believer. Okay. Tarada. So negative angles. So if they tell us an angle to say, for instance, sketch negative 60 degrees and find its standard angle. Okay, sketch negative 60 degrees and find its standard angle. So we said normally vectors have to be read in an anticlockwise manner. That's the normal way of doing things. However, if you are given a negative angle, then the trick here is this vector, you have to read it in a clockwise manner, but indicate it as a positive. So, read it in a clockwise manner. Okay, so that means if I was to sketch that, I'll still start from the positive x-axis. If this was a positive angle, I would have gone up. It being negative, they are telling me to go down. By how many degrees? 60 degrees. So I'm going to go down by 60 degrees, and this is where my resultant will be. So this is 60 degrees. So when you go down, don't include the negative. The negative is telling you to read it in a manner that is opposite to how we had defined it earlier. So the standard angle for this would be 360 minus 60. So the standard angle for this will be 300 degrees. Okay. Iran Mutati. How are you, Mr. Mutati? Mr. Mutati had 4 girlfriends in first year. 4. Utompumishi kulu. Anyway, naadeka. So I happy. All right. Next. North, east, west, and south. By the way, these directions spell the word news. So the normal axis that we've been using, we can also define it differently using these directions to say north, east, west, and south. So let's put the normal angles. So this is 0 degrees, this is 90 degrees, this is 180 degrees, this is 270 degrees, and 0 is as good as what other angle? What other angle is equal to 0 degrees? Quickly. Let me show you. Oh, Martha, you have a question? You can ask. You can ask. You can ask. So what other angle would still represent 0 degrees here? Yeah. So 360. What to do in Uruakanankani? At 360, baby, 360. 360, baby, 360. Yeah. So in the folk next year, I want to be famous. My name will be Your Perry. Like your maps. Like Your Perry. I even do dreadlocks. I'll be famous. I'll feel good. Alright, so 0 is as good as 360. So now, north is 90 degrees. Okay? East is 0 degrees or 360 degrees. Excuse me. West is 180 degrees. And south is going to be 270 degrees. Okay. My friends came watch Casa. Now, these are not the only angles. We can also draw lines that cut this in half, lines that cut this in half, this in half, and that in half. So assuming this is 45 degrees, this is 45, this is 45, this is also 45. Okay. This direction being between north and east will be called northeast. Okay, so when writing negative angles, you always start from the positive x-axis, but going downwards, yes, going clockwise. So yes, yes, yeah. So northeast. This is between north and west, so this will be northwest. If you just see someone looking like a chumbu after them getting off of a bus, red cotton foundation. It's just that cyberbullying, so I don't want to be arrested. But but yeah, they are not. Tell me if you know any person from Solwezi who is normal. Anyway, between south and west, this is going to be southwest. Between south and east, so I want you to notice we start with either north or south when mentioning a particular direction. So this will be southeast. Now, northeast actually represents a particular angle. Right. Northeast, a particular angle. Northwest, a particular angle. Southwest, and so on. Remember I told you we could use these 45s to guide us. So from here up to northeast, we've read this angle from the positive x-axis. So northeast is actually as good as 45 degrees. So if they say a vector is oriented in the northeast direction, automatically, even if they haven't given you the angle, just know you're dealing with 45. Then here, northwest, we will add a 45 to 90 or subtract a 45 from 180 and we get 135. So please master these. So the direction of northwest, 135. Right. Southwest, we either add 45 to 180 or subtract 45 from 270. The answer is the same. This gives us 225. Okay. Then southeast. Can you guys tell me what southeast will be using the rules we've applied? What do you think will be the original angle for southeast if it was to be read from the positive x-axis in an anti-clockwise manner? What do you think would be the standard angle for southeast? And I need to go and drink beer. And 3:15. How about my password? And when you see someone answering questions like this, means that person wants to start impressing girls. So I know this trick. So that girls love you. Negative 45. Okay, technically it's okay, but I asked for the standard angle. So mapenga wamwipisha bwino ali kusolwezi mama kwanga mfya negative 45 taupsana na wapo mulevo abe mnesta impress utubana kashi wena bana kashi these days vibe very sharp. They see through all these non-canism lechitana. They know the tricks. Yeah. Ngabona what ada yona we nishure sika kwati nuwebo none Zimba. Basa, where do you drink from? Ba apaso ba kwata sola. So you want to chibuku wila bafia tarara wino. Yeah, tarara. Okay, let's go. So southeast is going to be 360 minus 45, which gives us 315, baby, 315. So what have we learned? We've learned what a standard angle is. This is an angle read from the positive x-axis in an anti-clockwise manner. Then we learn negative angles. A negative angle, they're simply telling you to read that angle in a clockwise manner. Then we come to directions: north, east, west, south, and their variants. Okay, so north is 90 degrees, south is 270, east is 0 or 360, west is 180. We could also have angles in between. Okay, and using the diagram, you can tell northeast will automatically represent 45, southeast 15, northwest 135, and southwest 225. Very easy. Even if you are single, you can understand these things. When Besakampamba. Those of you that are broke and want money, when so when you should send some money to these chaps. One pin. Okay. So now the last thing, the last part for reading directions. Vectors is a very big topic. Very big. Okay, so more on angles. What if they give you an angle like this? A vector is oriented um, 30 degrees north of west, comma, what is the standard angle? 30 degrees north of west. What is the standard angle? So number pa, it's becoming odd. So the vector is oriented 30 degrees north of west. What is the standard angle? So in physics, if you want to fail a question, don't sketch it. So physics, sketching will give you a huge advantage over a lot of people. Secondly, so pointers. The last direction, Amos Liali. How are you? So the last direction is the reference point. Okay. So here they've mentioned north and they've mentioned west. So the west will be our reference point. So let's sketch. Let's sketch. So this is north, this is south, this is east, this is west. Now, if we are along the west direction, there are only two ways we could move from the west. Either go up or we go down. If we go up, then we are going north of west. Going up because we are moving towards the north from west. You understand? If we go down, then we're going south of west. So I told you, a vector is oriented 30 degrees north of west. So if they give you an angle, it is no longer northwest. Okay, if they give you an angle, it's not northwest. Northwest, yet that is 135. But if they add an angle in Shpasasa, your interest will be the last direction mentioned. That's going to be a reference point. So reference point here is west. Now from west, you can only move up or downwards. So according to this, it says the vector is oriented 30 degrees north of west. So we go west, where our reference point is, and then we go north, by 30 degrees here. Okay. So what do you guys think the standard angle for such would be? What do you think the standard angle for such would be? Indishen. What do you think the standard angle for this diagram would be? Okay, Jeremiah says 150. Anyone else? Anyone else? Vaima says 150. Knowing Vaima, bako perefi. Simon 330. It was Simon Muriaba Ichemuno. Simon. Yeah. How was Simon? Just look at your answer properly, by Simon. Muriaba Ichemuno. Insoni Ubuntu. That's asa. Jonathan. You see your student, they have got over. Where is Abambi at 120? Afresh mure pepesha. Mure pepesha. Let's work off. Anyway. So, anytime you see a diagram, read the angle from the positive x-axis until you meet where the vector is. Again, this was a straight line. A straight line would have given us an angle of 180, but we haven't reached 180 because this is 30. So what should we add to 30 for us to get 180? So this angle has to be 150 degrees. We're innocent at 60 degrees. Now I think the Kenya Bantu Kulala. Anyway, you people wrote your final exam some time back. So I know there are cobwebs in your head. So the more lessons we have, I know the mind will be cleared bit by bit, and we shall get back to normalcy. Okay. One more thing, and then we can call this lesson goodbye. One more thing. One more thing. So let's imagine the vector is 70 degrees below the negative x-axis. What is the standard angle? Once you understand standard angles, it will be easy for us to move. What is the standard angle? Okay. So step one, what did we say you should always do in physics? Anytime you're given a question, what should you always do? What should you always do anytime you're given a physics question? What do you do? Muchinyanja, uchita bwanji, uchita chani che, chabe kwamene. What do you do anytime you're given a question in physics? What is the first step you should take? Even if you're blank, the first thing you do is sketch. Excellent. Then read the question preferably more than once. So a vector is 70 degrees below the negative x-axis. Remember I told you the axis has the x and it has a y. So this is the x-axis, this is the y-axis. This here is the positive y. This here is a negative y. This here is the positive x. And this here is a negative x. So now, between A, B, C, or D, which one are we interested in? If they say the negative x-axis, which line are we interested in? Line A, line B, line C, line D. Which line are we interested in? Which line are we interested in? And the shame you what fast, I need to go and drink. Okay. Network na ina kwata mabundles ya kukongola mwe bantu bakwalesa. Yeah. All right. So our interest will be line C. The question says a vector is 70 degrees below. So the word below is one other thing that will guide us. If they say below, below meaning we're going down, punch. So we are going below. So this is the negative x-axis. Yeah, this one. Then we go below the negative x-axis. We go below the negative x-axis by 70 degrees. So this line is going to be 70 degrees. And this is where my vector will be. So this is going to be 70 degrees. What do you think is going to be the standard angle for this setup? By the way, the standard angle is read from the positive x-axis. You go all the way in an anti-clockwise manner until you meet where the angle ends. So this is our standard angle. So now, based on the sketch, by the way, it's not always that you subtract. Sometimes you have to add. So what do you think this angle is going to be? The sketch is very important. As you can see, we have a straight line, and then we've gone beyond the straight line by the angle that is given. Okay, so let me see. If the lady can give us the correct answer, then I know we have made some progress. Tomorrow I'm going to 1,000. I want to chula in there. Okay, any more answers? We bring the lesson to a close so that I can go and drink beer. Peace. Activate some my account. Anyway, finish your focus on our website. Nakan. You people need to move on. The relationship is done. All right. So this angle is going to be 180 plus 70. So 180 plus 70 is going to give us 180 plus 70. 0 is 5, carry on, 2. So 250 degrees. Okay. So I hope you guys have learned one or two things. So thank you very much for gracing us with your presence. I'm glad this lesson happened. Yeah, so now you know how the Facebook lessons will be done. I'm sure next time it will be easier. Okay, so a standard angle can also be called the actual angle. Yes, 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 Malumbo, yes. Okay guys, good night. I am now going to drink beer and to dance. Bye-bye.